Greg and Jane Hamilton Parker are the world's most psychic couple. Can they speak to the dead and bring messages of hope in these troubled times? Join them for an evening of mystical talks, world predictions, and spirit messages.
Hi patrons, today I'm going to do a few responses to your comments, and Kit's again. Kit's put up quite a few comments in her time. Thank you, Kit. Says, do you see Kate as a future Queen Consort in the future? Will she be strict, and what type of leadership will she show? Yeah, of course, we've been doing all the Meghan stuff, and there's been quite a few private comments on that as well. I think Kate is already doing a very good job, and I think she's going to be. I think she's going to be very good supporting William, and I think she will be also. I think she will be pretty strict. I think she'll model herself on Queen Elizabeth, rather just as Meghan's kind of modelling herself or trying to pretend to be, in my opinion, a surrogate Queen. Princess Di. I think she will model herself on Queen Elizabeth and the years of service that she's done. So that will be a very interesting one, Kate, that I could perhaps do in a future video. So that's one of yours, Kate. I see you've put some others here, but I can only do... Okay, there's other thoughts there you've also got about will we see any other UK royals being from another race, like marrying a Spaniard, Chinese or another race. Well, I don't know offhand, but it wouldn't surprise me, actually. But it's, again, something I could give some thought to, perhaps in some of the predictions that I do later on. Donna's asked, do I see a polar shift? Yeah, now this is Edgar Cayce was one of the first to come up with this idea. There always will be a sort of shift of the Earth's magnetic field. I think it's every 11,000 years it moves. So the South Pole becomes the North Pole and the North Pole becomes the South Pole because the Earth's mantle changes direction. So it will obviously happen at some point. Edgar Cayce has made some very interesting predictions. I think we will eventually get that while human beings are still on the planet, as it were. When it will be, how it will be. I've often felt that, Cayce said there would be a lot of Earth seismic activity and volcanic activity before this happened, which would obviously be the case. I predicted that this year is going to be a lot of volcanic activity, and there has been unprecedented amounts already. So I think we're going to get something like that. Whether it's going to be the full polar shift, I don't think so yet. But eventually it will come. I think it's probably a lot further in our history, outside of our lifetimes. But it's something I'll give some thought to sometimes, because I can't just sort of pull out predictions out of the air, as it were. I have to tune in. And the way it works in a funny sort of way is I don't... Because people ask me questions, but most of the time I don't know, frankly. I can give an opinion or get a sort of slightly psychic insight into it. But when I make my predictions, I have to sit down and I have to go really, really deep into meditation. And in a way, I can't ask. I have to just wait until it is given to me. It's very passive, actually, what I see. And I only get glimpses and grasp little bits of things. So I have felt that before, though, that I think Casey's on the right lines with that, I think he was seeing something that it will happen. And talking about that type of thing, it's commented on a post. I have to make sure they're not personal comments that people send me. Carl Chang Chu has asked here, sir, believe it or not, I think I found the meaning of a gas cloud that could be coming from China to India. Volcanic eruption of Peak 2, sounds like one of the Pokemons, Peak 2 mountain with dense ashes. Although I don't think it will cause immediate secondary winter effects, would surely cause worries if other volcanoes doing the same, like the Yellowstone perhaps. Can you include this in one of your meditations, please? Yeah, I will include that in my thoughts and things like that. Because I like that comes up. He's seen this in the in my Messages from the Universe book, and the Nadis there. Because the Nadi said I would predict something about a gas cloud. And of course, once they've said that, I'm looking out for it. And I'll know it when it comes. I know it when the time's right for that. And I'll trust my intuition with that to give the guidance. But again, for me, it's almost like when I do these predictions, and when the Nadi give me predictions, I'm like an onlooker to them, you know. So it's fascinating for me as well. So when that comes, maybe it could be. I did think it would be China. I did feel it would be China. You know, somewhere in the east, somewhere in that direction. I saw, you know, when the Nadi said this, and then I started to see similar things. So I'm leaving that as a bit of a mystery. And most of these sort of predictions that you get on the Patron things, that's kind of halfway there, because I'll look more deeply to include them on my on the main predictions. But thank you for that one. I'm very interested also lately. I've been, as you know, I'm very interested in the Yi Jing, and I've been started to use the Yi Jing in connection with some of my predictions. So I make my predictions and then I cast the Yi Jing to see if it gives me any extra insights into it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that, if it helps to help me to sort of see a little bit more clearly the bits I get, and hopefully be able to give you some more guidance on that. So watch out for some of my. I won't tell people I'm doing the Yi Jing in the background, but you'll probably notice that some of the thoughts from the Yi Jing are also in the things I have to say. Also, Pat's asking about is there any progress in the treatment of epilepsy. It would transform people's lives. I think we will see an awful lot in the near future, the very near future, with big medical leaps forward. We're going to see more of that. It's just like the Industrial Revolution during Victorian times. They saw endless innovations. I think now our focus is going from technology much more into all things medical, and this pandemic has almost put funds into those things as well. I think epilepsy is a terrible, awful illness. And I think all forms of mental illness, there will be a lot more development in understanding how the brain works and how we can perhaps even stop short circuits and things like epilepsy can be. So I think there will be a lot of progress in that. But I'll also give some thought to that. Perhaps I should do some predictions about medical predictions for the future and see what comes. You know, tune in, ask my guides for some help and see if I can get some details on that. So your posts are always very interesting, actually. So thank you for that one, Pat. And John Ewart is asking here about, thanks Greg, free electric energy. He's talking about, sounds good to me. That's something I've mentioned before, about that I feel that there's going to be this, you know, new electricity, new source of finding energy, which will be transformative. And I have mentioned that before. But he says, can you see this coronavirus settling into an annual vaccine like flu? And are more virus nasties on the way this decade? Well, I have said I think there's two more, because I say that on the basis that Sharavana Baba said that to us in India, and I kind of trust him quite a lot. So I think he might be right with that. Whether they'll be as bad as what we've got, I don't think so. I think we've learnt our lessons from it now, and I think the coronavirus itself will. In itself, it will become less potent, I think. Okay, it's spreading more quickly now, and you're getting all these variants. But I think the variants will ultimately settle into something less traumatic, you know, so it's a mild symptom. I get a feeling it's going to mutate itself into something benign. But nonetheless, even if it doesn't, I think we're going to beat it now. With the vaccines we've got, and I think this. I've had the AstraZeneca vaccine, and I think these fears that we're getting from Europe at the moment about AstraZeneca saying it caused blood clotting and things, I think we'll find that is all going to be proven to be a misunderstanding, actually. Jeanette is saying. Jeanette Marks is saying, how do you see the UK progressing? I've also spoken a lot about that. I mean, these are all huge subjects in themselves, which all would make interesting relooks for predictions. I see the EU becoming more falling apart as time goes on. I think it will ultimately break up into two federations, which I've talked about a lot in some of my other videos. So I refer you to some of those, where I feel that it'll be like a German federation, and it'll be Europe will separate. But I'll see if I can have a look at doing something a bit more in depth again, another re-look at Europe now that Brexit's out the way, because these were often in part the Brexit talks. Recover economically. I presume you're talking about Europe there again. the economic recovery will come. Yeah, it'll come lightning fast after all this pandemic. So maybe we can look at that a little bit more again in the future, because these are big questions you're asking. Is Biden trying to bankrupt this country? No, obviously not trying to bankrupt the country. He's trying to do what he understands as being the right way of running the economy. However, there's going to be this huge, well, there is a huge incentive being spent of money to give everybody money, and to get the economy booted up again, which makes sense on some levels, but it's all got to be paid for. And the coronavirus has got to be paid for. So America will get a temporary big boost, and they'll be able to say, look how wonderful it is under my new presidency. We've made massive, America's now is beating China. But, we kicked the can down the line, and all that's got to be paid for later on. So this is temporary illusionary boosts. Let's hope if they do a boost, they start to make a bit of sense and stop trading more with China. This is, I've got quite anti-China, I am, and I felt for a long time it's a very dangerous country and wants to undermine all of us and undermine democracy. I mean, I wrote my book, the Tibetan book years ago. I mean, and the research I did onto Tibet at that time, I wrote that in about 1996 or something like that. Oh, horrific things go on there, and still do, so, and we give them all our money. Is Barack Obama really in charge with the US? Is Biden trying to start a war, says Christina. No, I don't think Barack Obama is in charge of the US, and I think, but Biden, I think, will be a warmonger, more so than Trump was, because we haven't, he hasn't taken the brakes off things yet. He's doing a really bad job at the moment with Kim Jong-un, for example. I mean, Kim Jong-un was just sort of more or less told them to clear off, So I think there's going to be the old style threat and carrot sort of thing don't work. I think Trump's method did work with people like him. He understood that mindset, where someone like Biden, I think, does not understand the mindset of these type of people. He can't get his head around these people. He thinks you can be reasonable to them. You have to almost emotionally attack them, and that's where Trump used his unusual form of politics, and it, I think, kind of worked in a way. But that's also, there's so much more we can talk about there. And again, mainly people are asking here for predictions, and I would prefer to put the main predictions in the main videos. Okay, so I think that's just about everybody that I've covered there now. Yeah, because those are old ones. So, yeah, so there's a few thoughts there, but certainly some food for thought, I think, particularly. And I'll try to include some of these things in my regular predictions. And I noticed, as I think I mentioned last time, that they've put me on Wikipedia again, but all very a bit negative-y, because they always do, these skeptics run that. Just like, you get a hidden agenda behind so many things nowadays, don't we? Both in our politics, in Wikipedia, which is our source of knowledge. We all get our knowledge from places like that. I mean, nobody reads books anymore. Nobody does any research. The world's a very dangerous place, really. And I think also, the way social media, I think, is going to be something very, very interesting, the way that develops over the next few years, and this year particularly, because some of the governments are wanting to clamp down on it. But, think of the power that's behind social media, particularly if you've got a large number of people that are not educated, right? So like big mass populations, like third world populations, where they haven't had a lot of education, and they're all on social media, so things can be swayed politically very much with this in dangerous ways. But those are things that I'll talk about later. Anyway, thanks for being a patron. Thank you for subscribing to the channel generally. Thank you for all your help with this. Okay, see you again. See you soon. Bye for now.